Good morning, good morning. Turn the volume down. Hello,
Hello.
hello.
Good morning, everyone. We've got Lucy here joining us
Yeah,
and having
Lucy's
chat
running the show.
as she did last night too. She is like all over the table.
I know, I love it. I invited the blue heron in, but he's like, no, I'm going over there now.
I love it when Lucy turns and looks straight at the camera, like, "Look at me, I'm posing."
See, I have a great profile. Did you get the good side?
I'm
Good
here to be
Monday
admired.
morning. Oh my goodness, I'm not awake yet. I've had a cup of coffee. This is going to be.
Well, you got a lot going on, getting ready to move.
Yes, I've noticed. I've been working every single day for weeks straight because I did a certification training, and it's like I think I need some time off. I wonder when that's going to happen.
And just a reminder, while we're waiting on people to come in, the next Sacred Sounds of Coffee will be May 2nd. I guess
Mhm.
from wherever Jodi ends up.
We will find out whether Jodi actually has Wi-Fi somewhere and can do it.
Yeah,
We
if
get
not, I'll
closer.
do a solo one for us on May 2nd. We just won't have the music. Um,
Yeah, well, I on April Fool's Day, I gave notice on this house 6 weeks out, so that's the middle of May, and turned down a house here in the village and contacted my favorite April Fool's birthday person, which is my flute player Cornell, and said, "Happy birthday! I'm going to hit the road again for the first time in 10 years. Let's do a concert in Dallas." So that was my April Fool's Day. And no, no, Cornell, this is not an April Fool's joke. I'm actually going to get in the truck and drive. So, the house I'm renting in Hot Springs, not the village, but Hot Springs, is not available yet. And when it is, I'm going to move in. So, how are you, Jenlyn?
I'm doing good. I stayed up way too late in the after show again. Cutting up. We were so petty and just laughing last night. So it's kind of an interesting energy this morning here. I'm like, okay, I'm
I
awake, I'm
keep
alert, I'm all happy and giggly.
That's funny. Well, and Coyote Medicine is so about laughter. It really is. You guys do it well. So we decided last time we were on in our after show, which is funny because it's like too much coffee, gotta run. In the 2 minute after show, we decided to, since it was April Fool's Day, close to this one, to actually look at the Fool's Journey and Coyote Medicine and Trickster Medicine in the native tradition that I've studied. So that's what we're going to do today.
And
And we
I'm
both
so,
have.
I was telling Jodi before we started, I'm so excited because I don't know anything about coyote energy and that whole journey. So
Yeah, and I have never compared the two. So I went and talked to you last time and dug through my tarot cards and my oracle cards and my life because it has been Coyote Medicine, and it's like Coyote Medicine is an essence and an energy, and the Fool's Journey is how it tracks.
yeah, the fool's journey is about bringing the subconscious mind up to the conscious mind. For those that are familiar with tarot, the suits cards are about how we're operating in the physical world.
Mhm.
So, cups are emotions, swords are intellect, pinnacles are material things, and wands are fire energy, our action.
Yeah.
What we're learning also, their growth opportunities and things. So the fool's journey is more about bringing up
Uh-huh.
everything from the subconscious to the conscious mind.
Which is, I'm gonna start with how I learned Coyote, and then we'll launch because back in the old days, this deck of cards came out in 1988, and that's when I got it. This isn't the original deck. It sort of wore it out. Had to buy another one, and I had sobered up, started on my path, and read Coyote, which is number 13, which is actually my favorite number. And
Mine too.
I like 13.
And Johnny's too.
Okay, so I had been told all of my life that 13 was a bad luck number, so it's my favorite number. That is Coyote Medicine. In
Like
Heyoka. It's like
black cats are negative. No, I always have had black cats around. And
saying that's Coyote Medicine. So the thing that was interesting about this book is its definition of coyote. Yes, they're magical, but coyotes trick themselves. He doesn't learn from his mistakes, so to speak, and it's just like, what did I do? I did it again. And what I found interesting when I started my path, I knew right off my first shamanic journeys I had coyote medicine. I did not know what that meant. I just knew, it was one of those truth responses. And in this time in my history, I had entered trauma therapy because my childhood was violent. I mean, it was beyond abusive. It was just flat out violent. And Coyote Medicine gave me a doorway in to look at the ways that I sabotaged myself with my own shadows. So when I look at the Fool's Journey in Tarot, it's the same thing. You either do not learn your lessons and keep smacking into the wall, or you learn the lessons and turn this kind of power into something for the greater good.
or you get stuck somewhere on the journey. It can't seem to move forward.
So this was my introduction to coyote medicine. When I looked at the definition this morning, I'm going, ew. I didn't like it back then either. And my favorite definition of coyote is in that deck. Whoops. Drop the cards. I've been flinging things for 2 days.
It's Monday morning. I'm always
I know.
let's see on Monday mornings.
Yeah, I can blame it on Monday, but I was doing it yesterday too. Okay. It doesn't count. Okay, so coyote as the sorry, I know, Lucy, I'm talking about dog animals.
Yeah, she's like, I'm out of here. You're talking about
Gone.
dogs. I'm out of here. You're not.
I'm out of here.
You're
So,
not embracing my majestic thing anymore.
Jodi Bergsma sees coyote as the revealer of truth, which in my framework is the revealer of our shadows. And what I learned from my own process that I've been through, the shadow work and the trauma work and the shamanic training, which was all long before the bowls, is to be curious, to be teachable, which is part of coyote medicine. Because if I'm teachable, then I'm going to find the patterns in my shadows that have me do that, where the road runner can get the coyote to slam into a wall. I can stop doing that. And Jodi, the other Jodi, puts this down as revealer of truth. Don't take things too seriously. Make time to play. And I know for people like me who have had childhood trauma, play is not in the language. Fun is not in the language. I mean, it's a concept that I had to learn, and I learned it after I started therapy and after I had sobered up from a guy that I dated. He had a 3-year-old daughter, and she was the same age as the inner child that I was working with in therapy. And it was like, wow, that's what play and innocence looks like. So I was taught that by a child. It was really cool. Poor guy I dated was like, oh God, I got 2 of them now.
It's funny because probably about the time I had childhood trauma too. So getting that inner child out to play. Um, I had read Dark Side of the Light Chasers,
Ooh, yeah,
which
yeah.
is all about shadow work and
Mhm.
stuff. And I had named my inner child Baby Jenny, and I would invite Baby Jenny out to play. And my first nephew came along, and I spent
Mhm.
a lot of time with him. Like a lot of times when you're working on inner child, a child will actually show up in your life
Right,
to play,
right.
but to teach you how to
Yeah.
play.
Yeah, that's what happened for me because I honestly did not know how. My childhood being raised on military bases, we were free range. It was, you couldn't get in trouble because everybody watched us. And I would be out in the woods, whatever was the woods, wherever we lived. So my early childhood was escape to the woods, they're safe. develop all the shamanic skills of communicating with everything that's not human because they're safer, than have to come home for meals. So I had the same thing. I learned to play with spirits and trees and nature. I did not learn to play with humans. And what I've learned in coyote medicine is he, she, it, that this energy has been a really strong lesson in humility, on being able to show up authentically from the growth, from my own wounds. It makes me completely compassionate to anybody else's wounds because I can recognize them, and to be able to bring humor. Um, my family used humor as a weapon, sarcastic, cutting humor. And I did not know it was like that until after I started therapy. And it was like, oh, that's painful. So I actually retaught myself to use humor as something that can expand my clients and I into a place of humility and fun, and not throwing barbs at anybody else, but just, I can laugh at myself. I don't take myself seriously. And yet I'm, Scorpio serious about everything I do. It's a real paradox. So it was really interesting starting to go through coyote medicine again, because, and you're the one, it's like, did you know you were a medium? I like, you mean there's a title to what I know how to do? I did not grow up with titles and descriptions for my skills and my energies. I just have been what I am.
You weren't exposed to it.
I was exposed to it. And I have been in the energy of the dark side and the light side of coyote my entire life. Now, Carolyn Mace.
I love her. I've taken some seminars with her years ago. My
She
younger
has
days.
the Fool card and she has the Trickster card, which is coyote. And light and dark, light and shadow. The trickster, the light attribute is to transcend convention, rigidity, stuffiness, predictions. And I mean, I have been known in my teaching circles as the sacred cattle prod because I will show people perspectives that they just sort of like, you just said what? But that's how I am. That's coyote medicine, and so she talks about that in here. And the thing that I read a lot in mainstream superficiality is Trickster and Coyote is about the harmful use of playing tricks on people. I've never done that in my life. I don't resonate with that at all. I think more of it was about not seeing my own tricks I played on myself. So I like what she said. Now in the Fool, um, she calls that fearlessly revealing emotion, helping people laugh at absurdity and hypocrisy, which is part of coyote medicine too. So it was so much fun going through all my cards going, ooh, what is this one say? Ooh, what is, and interestingly enough, most animal decks don't have coyote in them. It's a hard energy for people to accept. So Denise Lynn's native spirit does have the trickster and pictures a coyote. And the essence for her is things are not as they seem. So for me, that's look beyond the illusion. Um, and she also describes Heyoka. There is some
Just
new
for
age Heyoka term going on that's meaning young empaths, which has nothing to do with Heyoka and this tradition. What she says in the Native American traditions, a trickster is often depicted as a wild coyote. Sometimes the trickster is inhuman, called Heyoka. I'm going to give you an example of Heyoka in my own life recently.
the trickster is us. Like we're tricking ourselves a lot
Yeah,
of times.
yeah. It's more about internal work. So
Yeah.
Heyoka medicine is backwards medicine, and and medicine is power. That's what that word means. I was introduced to Heyoka by an ex-partner. I think it was at Halloween. He was on a traditional native path, and at Halloween he decided for his attire for wherever we were going to put on a skirt, which would be, he's in a male body, put on a female skirt, and put shoes on backwards and spend the entire and put a mask on and for the entire night walk backwards. And I'm looking at him going, what are you doing? Like, it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And Heyoka medicine is you think you're going forward and you're really going backwards. So I had Heyoka medicine happen at the end of last year. There had to be a lease rewritten on this house because housemates changed. So I had another year left, and I asked the property manager to ask the owner if I could have 2 more years for a total of 3 before I moved from the lake. And she comes back with he prefers to just go through the end of the 2 years and be done. 2 weeks later, the entire downstairs blows up and he breaks the lease earlier than the 2 years or the 3 years. So, it's like for me, the lesson was okay, I have been, and at that time I was attached to not leaving the beauty of the lake. That was like, I don't want to do that. And then spirit introduces the poop.
We'll do that.
Yeah. And I went through this whole process of, okay, that's complete Heyoka. I asked for 3 years, I get a year and 3 months instead. And I think this is a trauma, and I'm sitting here in the beginning of April going, okay, the way this is coming down, I will end up on a piece of land that is not in a place where neighbors are so close I could touch their houses, which I can't stand. I almost turned down this house because of it. I'm going to be on a place that has land. I'm going to be able to do medicine wheels, and the whole community is planning the labyrinth, and how to do that and how to grow that. And I'm watching my internal reaction to this, and it's like that feels like the kind of place it's been 10 years since I've been at a place like that.
It's a different kind of beauty than what you're experiencing on the lake.
I have a creek in the backyard of this place, so it's water still. And somebody in this new community I'm in up here who will drive down there, she was saying, because I said, I'm traveling, I'm going to take a break and go back and do events and sessions in the places I used to work. And she's like, well, why don't you go to New Mexico? I might know people in New Mexico. And I just looked at her and said, I'm not interested in opening up new territories. I want to go hug the people I miss. This is the hug tour. That's all I care about is I want to go hug people I love.
Reconnecting.
Exactly. Which is like, okay, so I thought I wanted 3 years on the lake, and boy, I'll tell you, I'm getting crap from people on Facebook. Oh my God, what are we going to do without your lake? And I'm like, breathe. I don't know. Beauty exists out there elsewhere. But it's just been an interesting example of how Coyote can show up and Heyoka can show up and say, oh, you're attached to that outcome. Here, let's go this way and see that it can be better. So years and years and ancient years ago, I was actually at somebody's naming ceremony for her power name, and my Hathors handed me one that day. And they handed me Star Coyote. And it took me a very long time to realize that as Hathor energy, they are the coyotes of stars, because they're funnier than all get out. And for most of my professional life, I think this probably about 10 years ago, this changed. My medicine wheel, which is a construct I am always working in, had a ring of 22 coyotes outside of it facing in. That's not normal, but nothing is in my life. And I'd be just going, okay, those are my guardians. Cool. And I'd see them in real life and they'd follow me. I mean, coyote medicine. And I just knew they were there. They were safe. And that was part of who I was. And I took a sound training with somebody that I was playing music with, and he was teaching about Egyptian Hathors. And the comment he made was, they're really funny. And I'm like, huh. So I'm driving back to where I'm staying that night, and I'm going, yo, you coyotes around my medicine wheel, and they transmute and transform into 24-foot light bodies. And they said, yeah, we're Hathors. Well, why did you come in as fuzzy coyote people? And they said, because your human part scares easily. So we gave you fuzzy animals. I've never seen the coyote again, But I realized that part of my humor comes from that aspect of my star lineage. And they're funny and they teach through humor. And that's part of their music. So that's coyote medicine for me. It's such an integral part of who I am and what I am. And I really do believe that humility and authenticity starts with being able to look at the horrible of what I've gone through and go, it's a gift. It makes me better at what I do. And if I can't find humor at it, I'm leaving the body. So I better find humor in it. So that's my coyote story.
So for someone like me who's not familiar with coyote
Mhm.
medicine, if I were going to get a book to read to study a little more about it and get into it, what would be the first book that you would recommend?
I don't. I was raised on oral tradition in my training. I do not have these okay, the cards are better than any book. Okay.
Okay.
Seriously. I mean, I had one book in the beginning and I have never seen any other books because all of my teachers were oral. So this one, Mystical Shaman, that has a great coyote message. Colette Baron Reed in Spirit Animals, great coyote message.
Okay.
The Fool's Journey is fantastic. Denise Lynn is more traditional. Carolyn Mace is more archetypical. And her definition is the one that resonates the most with me. Because, I look at what's out if you Google Heyoka or Coyote, the things that come up are New Age BS. I mean, I'm just looking at it going, that has nothing to do with how I learned it. But, if it works today, it works today. And, and people ask me for books all the time and I just start laughing. I went 20 years with
But
oral teachers.
I love working with spirit animals and spirit totems.
Mhm.
I love Andrew, Ted Andrews' book.
I had that one is now
Yeah,
packed. Yes. That was the other thing when the animal
and
cards came out, we all got that book too.
yeah,
I have the
Animals Speak.
original.
That's a wonderful
Yeah.
book for anyone that's getting
Yeah.
into animal
In the
medicine, so to
animals.
speak,
Yeah,
and the
he's good.
totems. So I've read that book and I have that book. Like I have it over here. I refer to it a lot, when a different animal or insect or bird
Yeah.
shows up.
You know how now we can carry the phones? In the old days when we go for shamanic hikes, we would carry Ted Andrews' book and the animal cards. And my book is dog-eared. I've colored. It's a mess. But that's how we went out into the woods. It was like, let's take our encyclopedia with us. Now it's like I'm just gonna Google it.
For those also like into bird energy too, just on a slightly different subject, Cornell University just put out a free app
Mhm.
for bird song where you can either record it or
Yeah,
take a picture of the bird. Now, for
yeah.
me, a lot of times I don't see the birds, I just hear them up in the trees. So you can sit there and record it and it'll tell you what bird you're hearing, which
Yes.
is cool. Then you can get Ted Andrews' book out and go look at
Go
what
see
that
what it
bird is
means
telling you.
or Google it. Yeah, I have all those bird apps because there's a lot of birds that sing in these trees and I can't see them.
I can't identify by their sound
Right,
because I was never trained of what different
right.
birds sound like.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to be old enough. I was laughing at my group that was on yesterday with me because they're all way younger than me. They're all talking about how old they are. And I'm like, yeah, right. I'm a decade ahead of you. Um, everything that I learned in the beginning was from oral tradition teachers and the cards and the books that were out 35 years ago. And it's really easy today with the internet. I mean, I'm very grateful for technology because it's like, I'll be doing a session and I'll see a bird or something will happen. This happens all the time. I did a session with two people from Houston this weekend, worked for a couple of days, and we had we had the bald eagle in, we had the osprey in, we had the red-tailed hawk in, we had the blue. I'm looking at all these birds coming in, going, we're giving them messages, and if I don't know the meaning, I'm just consulting a search on Google and asking my guides which one resonates with what they need to hear. Same with crystals. So we've got it pretty easy these days. If you don't want to carry the book around, because that's my camera too, so I'll carry that around. So tell me about the Fool's Journey, because this is so
Yep.
juxtapositioned here.
Yeah, if you read cards, anyone watching, if you read tarot, I always advise people when they're learning tarot to separate out the major arcana and lay them out in order, in numerical order, and follow the Fool's Journey. So I'm just going to kind of walk through the Fool's Journey a little bit. And get an understanding of that. If you're not, into reading tarot and you don't want to learn, tarot, that's cool too. You will get a lot of messages from the Fool's Journey. And there's great videos on YouTube too that you can Google the Fool's Journey and see some beautiful videos on it. But we start with 0 the Fool. Now it's interesting because we start with 0 the Fool and we end with 21 the World, which has a circle on it too. There's a whole cycle of life thing going on, and that's the main thing with the journey. Like, it's about bringing things from the subconscious mind to the conscious mind and freeing ourselves, getting connected to our own divine inner energy. But it's a cycle, so it repeats and repeats. Like, we repeat lessons, or we go on to a new lesson and learn something new. So I love that it starts with 0 the Fool. He's very naive, he's kind of frivolous, a little bit naive, and he's getting ready to take a leap of faith into the journey. And that's where we all start when we're learning something new. We start with that kind of naivete. I don't know what I'm getting into, but I feel like I'm ready to take this leap. Then we go to the magician. The magician is the master manifester. He's a mentor. He's a teacher. He can be a little bit of a trickster, he can have tricks up his sleeve, but he has all the tools. If you look on his table, he's got cups, pinnacles, swords, and wands on the table. He's got all the tools to do what he needs to do, and he gives us those tools. We don't know what to do with them yet, but he gives them to us. And those tools, again, are earth, air, fire, and water, or, pinnacles, cups, swords, and wands. So it's the physical things, it's the intellect, it's the passion and the learning, it's the love and emotion, it's dreams and science and alchemical energy and synchronicity, getting us aligned to synchronicities. Everything happens for a reason. There are no coincidences. And then we move into there's a lot of male female energy in the Fool's Journey. So the magician is a more masculine energy. The high priestess is more feminine, pure feminine energy. She has secrets of divine wisdom that she has learned through listening and being silent and listening within. So she is inactive, but she teaches us to trust our own intuition. Then we have the Empress and the Emperor, the mother and the father energy. The Empress, abundance and nurturing and giving and giving birth to new things. The Emperor, the father, the rules, the structure, the discipline. And then we reach a point on our Fool's Journey where we step away from our parents, where we have to start living our own lives. The first thing we step into is the Hierophants. It's the guidance of, like, our structures, like schools and religion and societal institutions. And it's a part, recognizing we're a part of a collective, like we belong to a collective. And then we hit the Lovers, which is when we awaken to that we have choices, that we have free will, that we can let go of our parents' energy, and make choices on our own, that we can take destiny into our own hands. But it's a realization that we have choices that we can make. The Chariots, which tells you don't give up, keep proceeding, keep moving forward, be persistent, just keep moving forward. Strength, which teaches us that strength comes from being quiet inside, that's where courage is found, is in silence. And it's mind over matter. Like when we have our fears, we find our strength by going within and being silent for a moment. Sorry, I took some notes so I wouldn't forget anything. And then we go
to the book.
Masculine hermit card. He's got like similar to the high priestess, but that masculine energy. But he teaches us to go inwards to everything we've learned and taken in, to find our inner knowledge, and then to use our light to shine a way on our pathway. Then we have the Wheel of Fortune, which is fate, destiny, free will, cycles up and down, like which way is the wheel turning, good fortune, bad fortune, cycles up and down. And this is where we learn about karma and consequences. We learn that every action or reaction has a consequence. Then we move into justice, which is where we learn balance from our lessons. We learn to take all that information in, and we start finding the balance between it. The Hanged Man, he's suspended between two worlds, and we learn that we can have a different perspective about everything. We can pause, take a break. What you once took as your truth from former teachers now shifts to your own perception. So this is a big card to me. It's like you're no longer spouting what your parents believed or what your teachers taught you. You're now forming your own perspectives about who you want to be from a subconscious mind. The Death card is the death of old ways. It's freeing us from old ways and other people's beliefs. It's change because we are freeing ourselves to be who we are. Temperance, which is that transformation and rebirth. It's peace and patience and balance because we're tempering ourselves and just being in that moment of realizing I can depend on myself. I don't have to go by anybody else's beliefs. The Devil, which is we look at as temptation and sin. The interesting thing, the Devil has the lovers down here on the bottom that are chained to the Devil, but it's choice. It's just like the lovers. It's choice if we want to stay there in that enslavement or captivity or addictions or whatever. We make a choice whether we stay there or how long we stay there. We can move forward from those chains. And then the Tower, when we have a shocking or sudden realization, sudden change, it's breaking all those foundations and rebuilding things, restructuring, breaking through old beliefs, and it's freedom. So, a lot of people think of the Tower card as a negative card. No, it actually brings freedom with it. It's just breaking through all those beliefs. The Star card, which is hope and encouragement and guidance. We look to the stars for guidance. So it's having one foot on the earth and one foot on the water, and realizing that we can be in two places, at the same time, and we can go to the heavens for guidance. The Moon card, which is a mysterious path forward. There's anxiety and fear with it. Like you can't see where you're going. There's shadows. There's things that are uncontrollable. There's a vulnerability to it. But if we trust the journey through the illusions and dreams, we find the light of our subconscious thoughts. So there is a path forward. It's just sometimes difficult for us to see it. And then, the night, the moon, the night, it never lasts forever. The sun comes out, it rises with the promise of a homecoming, bringing the inner child out, this is our inner child out that has questions for us. And now, because of all of our experiences, we have answers for that inner child. We can share our wisdom with that inner child. It's enjoyment and positivity. And then judgment, which is the revelation that we have learned so much. Anything that's left unsaid is dealt with. The inner work is completed. We can let go of the past and we can be at peace. And then the final card, the world card, which is completion, but the cycle begins again. It reminds us, like, the cycle will begin again. You'll have another lesson that you start the fool's journey on. But we know we're not where we started. We've learned something. So when we start a new journey, we're not as naive. We've learned something. We've evolved. We're wiser. And we're further along our path than when we started the first journey. So every journey we start back over again. And that's life.
Yeah, that's life. One of my favorite tarot books or tarot decks is the Star Tarot, because the images are very shamanic, which I resonate with, obviously. And just listening to you go through that, because, people pull cards for me all the time. It's like, oh my God, we got major arcana. I'm like, okay, that's nice. What does that mean? As I'm learning this. But going through them as a process and a journey, the medicine wheel, when I learned that, is the same thing. You always go around and around in your journeys. The choice point is, do you spiral up into ascension, or do you spiral down into, getting really stuck in your issues? But it's the same. It's why, for me, the tarot and the indigenous shamanic earth-based perspectives make more sense to me. It's not like you get born, you grow up, you go to work, you get a job, yada, 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 you die. That's the end. I don't resonate with that. But having the opportunity to go around the wheel over and over, and it also can bring some peace to this weird Western belief that if I do a piece of healing work on this one thing, I should never have to visit it again. And I'm laughing, going, yeah, good luck with that.
It'll come up again
always,
and again.
Always.
But how you handle it and how you react to it is different and improves each time. If you've learned,
if you're doing the work, if you take your coyote lessons and go, oh, there's a pattern here.
Yeah.
And on the wheel that I work with, the West, and one of my first teachers, I was in about year 5 of sobriety, and was out where she lived, not in Texas, and had been on antidepressants for 2 years, had been sober, just blobbity, blobbity, trauma release therapy all over the place. And she just took one look at me and blinked a few times and said, if you white people would stop resisting the West so much, you wouldn't have to stay there so long. And it was like somebody just hit me with the truth flat on in the face, because that's exactly what I was doing. I don't like this. This doesn't feel good. I don't want this lesson. You mean I have to do more shadow work? I was in that place. And it was just this lightning bolt aha moment of, the West can feel like the tower moment and death. Okay. It can be a combination of the two. And what I have learned, and it's funny because I actually thought this morning of contacting the guy that runs the cave I used to play in and see if I can do this when I go down to Texas. What I used to do is I would bring, 25, 30 people into a workshop setting in this cave with one gong and a couple of bowls, not the whole thing with the sound system. And we would progressively take the lights down to pitch black. And I would gong us into the void, which is in the West. So perception says there's nothing here. And perception through the third eye and the heart was like, whoa, there's everything here, every choice. I love doing that workshop because it would really illustrate what the West is when we embrace it beyond the fear. So I'm loving what you just did, because it's like this is the same kind of concept. We're just
Earth
going around the wheel.
Earth is just a classroom. We come here to
Mhm,
learn and learn and learn and
mhm,
learn. That's why we incarnate in to learn and take things back that we couldn't get from the other side, but
mhm,
through our experiences. But if you're trying to figure out what your lessons are that you're trying to work through in
mhm,
this lifetime, think about triggers, things that trigger
mhm,
something, like a trigger a reaction in you, an uncomfortableness or a
mhm.
fear or anything that pushes a button. There's something to learn there. So, like my dad, I talk about, he was an extreme narcissist. I kept
Mhm, mhm.
running, I did a lot of healing, but I kept like running into his energy
Right.
through work, a lot of times through bosses or whatever,
Mhm.
meeting a another narcissist, and it's like I recognize it quicker now. It's like, oh, there's the dad energy again. There's that. I know what a narcissist is now, and I move through it quicker. So I don't get plugged into somebody's
Right.
game that they're playing.
Right.
So you get to where you move through the processes easier because of the knowledge you
Mhm,
gain with each lesson.
mhm. And I'm one of the things I absolutely, besides the fact that I love you all who mentored me into this YouTube thing. You're all readers, and and I go to all three of you. You, Johnny, and Adrian. Like, okay, I need sessions.
Yeah,
I have a question. Poor Johnny. Johnny has a lot to do with my moving.
yeah,
Where I live, and I love the fact that my whole path in shadow work, in shamanic work, is supported by your tarot work. I mean, oracle cards I have always loved on the path. The tarot I've never understood, but the way you teach that and do that, especially in the personal sessions,
hmm
I mean, the political is fascinating, but for the personal stuff, I'm deep gratitude to you guys, because it takes everything and expands upon it. And I
it
find
brings clarity.
it brings clear. Well, it's like astrology, It's like I have heard people go through tarot, and it's like, oh my god, you got the tower, And it's like, you know, that's a matter of interpretation. My house here that I'm in had a tower moment in the first week of January that, the shit hit the fan, literally and figuratively, and it was just like, okay, that's traumatic. And this is what one of my somebody I dated a billion years ago, who had no idea about any of this. If you dig through the poop and keep digging, down there somewhere is the pony that produced the poop. Go look for the pony.
That's
And
it.
I've never forgotten that.
I love that. I was about to say, not everybody has had like childhood traumas or
Yeah,
things like that,
true.
but we all have little traumas or little fears or little things we hang
Mhm.
on to. So, if you're resistant to change, like, okay, why? Why do I fear change? So everything that triggers you, like, oh, things are changing and I don't like it. It's making me uncomfortable. Then go deeper. What's the fear at the base of that? Go deeper. Why do you fear that? Find the
There's
pony.
a unicorn down
Find the
there.
pony.
I'm looking for the unicorn. Forget the pony.
Yeah. Fight. Yeah. Well, if you got purple poop, it's probably a unicorn.
Yeah, or sparkles.
A sparkly poop. But I love that. I love that. Dig down to find. So, no, even little things can trigger us in life. Just
Mhm.
you know, getting annoyed at having to have your car repaired over and over or whatever. There's little things. It's like, why? Why am I resisting
True.
this? Like what am I trying to learn here? Why
Right.
is it triggering something in me and making me uncomfortable?
Well, and one of the conversations that I had after my gong bath the other day was about the big context trauma of going through the pandemic, being in a war. I mean, for anybody my age, raised in the military on the Cold War, it's like, oh my God, there's a war, and there could be nukes. Um, it's like there's some bigger global traumas that are going on right now that most of us want to go, yeah, I'm aware of that, but I would rather keep my focus here personal, because that's way too big to deal with. And those of us who do the kind of work I do are aware that the global trauma is affecting all of us. And so people are triggered. I mean, people are just more triggered and locked down into whatever the shadows do. And for me, it's like, I mean, because I know that locking down, I mean, I was raised on that. And for me, it's an invitation to attempt to be more compassionate between the scorpion tail waving times, you know.
For
But
me,
that's the change.
yeah, it's also, yeah, there's a change going on. We're all aware of like the suffering and everything that's
Yeah.
going on, but you have to find moments to unplug from that, detach from that a little
Yes.
bit, and go within. Um, Praying for peace, we create within ourselves, so we have to be the peace that we want to create. We have
Yes.
to find that peace within to
Yeah.
put it out in the collective to manifest that peace. So,
Hmm.
when you get wired watching the news or whatever, try to take a few minutes every day to go in and find that peace
Yeah.
energy to put out in the universe. Because if we put our fears and our anxieties and everything out there, then it just keeps everything tumultuous. But as a collective, I think it starts individually. A collective
Yeah.
energy
It
starts
does.
individually with finding that peace within.
Yes. Well, and that's one of the reasons I'm doing the team Namaste a few minutes every morning. That it's a path of service, but I'm going to be really selfish here. I feel better. It's like I get up in the morning, and I mean, as I said yesterday, you will never see me on camera. I'm in my pajamas without brushed teeth. You never get on camera without brushing my teeth. There's something about that, and and I'm just like point the camera, play some music, hear some cards, try to light the sage,
Mhm.
and that little tiny act of service has reset the upset I've been in around the move. Because the move for me, and it's funny you were talking about the fool into the magician. um, I got a new deck of cards right as all this was coming down on what am I going to do, and my Hathors kept saying take a leap of faith. And this one deck, every time I pulled the card or something flew out of the deck for a week straight, it was faith. And I'm like, okay, now you're using my cards to give me the okay, guys, I got the message, because I had to let go of everything I perceived I had here for the house I want to come into my field.
I think with any lesson that we're learning, or any fear or trauma we're trying to work our way through, you have to look at, like, I remember I did not want to be a victim of child abuse. I always say I
Yeah,
experienced child abuse,
yeah,
but you hit a point where you recognize that was an experience I had. It does not define me,
hmm,
and you still can move forward with your own free will to be who you want to be. You don't have to repeat cycles. I'm laughing at Kathy W. because you asked what kind of animal makes sparkly poop, and unicorns and Jodi Roberts. Jodi Roberts makes sparkly poop.
I wish.
That'd be a really interesting.
I think I'll pass on that one. No, you cannot see my poop. And Hello Kitty makes sparkly poop. See, I knew somebody made sparkly poop. Oh my god. Coyote. We got coyotes in the stream. See,
There's coyotes
listen
in the
to
chat.
them.
Playful coyotes.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is cool. I love watching where our worlds meet, and we're saying the same
They
thing.
collide sometimes.
Yeah, that's the fun. That is the fun of this. Ooh, they collided.
They collide, they mesh, and
Well, and the colliding, I mean, we have a choice to lock down and no, I'm right. No, you're right. No, and get into that thing that's being acted out there in the public, or to just go, ooh, learn something new.
yeah.
Take what works.
When
What
an
feels
atom
good.
collides with another atom, it sparks another reaction, right?
It's atomic sparkly poop.
Yeah. So colliding is good. It
Yeah,
will
it is. No, this. I want to thank you because this has really been fun doing this with you. It's like
We always have fun on these.
I know. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Have a session with you and then spend the after time going, what are we going to create?
Sparkly poop, apparently.
Oh, that's going to be a vision for a purpley sparkly poop all over the place. Oh my God. Hi, Justin's mom. You are so welcome. This is one of the things I have always said about my coyote-ness is if I don't laugh about it, I would start crying and never stop. And that's okay. I cry, I'm a crier, but oh my bad pugs that eat glitter pets. That's gross. Okay, this is going into the end of absurd. I love it. Is it time for us to do music and ceremony yet?
It is. It is. Where's my lighter? I got my candle here.
All mine are packed.
Anyone who's watching these later, feel free to light a candle yourself and do the meditation with us. Mm-hmm. So, Archangel Raphael, Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Ariel, and the Hawthorne energy. I need to start invoking them in our meditations. We thank you. We surrender to your mercy, compassion, and healing. We thank you for helping us grow on our journey in this classroom called Earth. We thank you for bringing our attention to where we are on our journey. We thank you for showing us we are protected on our journey and can be at peace with the process wherever we are right now. We can stay in the moment while moving our journey forward. We thank you for helping us let go of our past to embrace who we are today. We thank you for sacred release. We thank you for showing us how to go within to discover our own sacred connection to the divine. It begins with us individually, and it ends with us individually, and it begins again in a new cycle of life. We thank you. We thank you for showing us we recognize everyone is in a different place on their journey, and we can only control our own thoughts and divine connection. We thank you for sacred discernment.
Thank you. You all sound good.
I was so appreciating that when you play the sound healing and the harmonics, there are moments where there is space that you allow before you move on to the next instrument that you're using.
Hmm.
But the original may still be resonating, so there's a merging of the sounds across
Yes.
or a
Yes.
um, you know contact point there. It's just like we were talking about before we went into this. There, I
Right.
like that space,
Hmm.
and it's still resonating, and then
Yes.
something else comes in. So
It's the interesting thing about this kind of music. When I'm at the guy who re- recorded my CDs, because I got a bunch of those, and a number of them are studio recordings, and he taught me, watching him on his giant command center, that when these instruments are just playing, if there's a blip that, like Jodi dropped the stick, these things happen. We have to get out of there because of that aspect of the sound waves keep on going. You can literally cut a chunk out and they'll weave together and you never even know.
but it
It's
was a
cool.
reminder to me that when we're on our own fool's journey, it's okay to pause, have those
Uh-huh.
breaths between,
Hmm.
to pause, get our bearing, figure out where we are on the journey, and then
Right.
move forward to the next step.
Right.
So
And
it was
I tend to not stop completely and let things ring out, because the feedback I've gotten over 19 years of doing this is, if the sound healers that literally just stop and then have to walk somewhere else to, like when I'm playing 10 gongs, I have somebody playing with me so that there's never that complete lack of something going on in the room, because it wakes people up out of the trance. So what I'm doing on the pauses is I'm going from this pack of bowls that sound good together, and I'm going to go somewhere that if I keep those going and go over there, they're going to be completely crashing dissonant. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm letting
going
it
the
go
wave.
down just to the vibration so I can change bowls without you all going, "Ah,"
And that's life. Like we can
That's
take
life.
those pauses to
Yeah,
shift
yeah,
our vibration, get in tune with ourselves, bring that subconscious to the conscious mind, and then move.
yeah. Alan, I have God, I have recorded so much of what I've done. I've got a couple of cave CDs. Those are really fun. La da ba da ba, because everybody coughs in the cave. The one that Cornell and I did, I think it was my second concert in the cave. Um, Ziba, and these are all on my website, only digital. I don't sell the CDs anymore. Um, I had him start the entire, 200 people in this freaking cave, had him start with the flute and just this beautiful announcement that, that we are playing in this magnificent place. And this horrible cough came, next, and finally about 4 years later, I'm looking at him going, can we just cut that thing out of the CD and re-release it? But there's always cough and movement and sound healing. So the cave
But
always
yeah,
comes.
it's opening up that throat chakra, which
Yeah.
to me is always the most clogged chakra when I do healing energy work with
Yes.
someone,
Yeah.
because we all get stifled and can't speak our
Yes.
inner truth at
Yeah.
points. There's times at work or wherever or
Yeah.
with a relative where we have trouble getting our truth out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I've got tons of CDs. I record a lot of what I do just to have pieces to put on other stuff, other stuff I do. And this is actually really funny. Okay, TikTok, right? I have a number of CDs that are in the system that can be flagged as, people stealing whatever it's called. And I had a video on TikTok that I literally went out and sat outside with two of the bowls on this table that I've never put in a CD. I didn't have them. And I recorded me playing with hummingbirds. So the hummingbirds are in the video and I'm playing bowls. TikTok flagged the audio on that and took it down because I was stealing from my own CDs.
oh no! Oh no.
Obviously, I have patterns in the way I explain.
It's like, but it's me. I can see it for
I know
myself.
I don't know how to go in and go, hey, look, idiots, I'm still, these are, I was just like, you did what? It was like, I mean, for me, it was a lesson in maybe I need to change my patterning around my own music. But TikTok now recognizes my bowls from the Heart Side CD. If you go to Sacred Inspiration, it's on the CD page. The Heart Side CD, I love the way energy works. So I, paid the dude for a full day of recording and had a playlist of I want to do these bowls and those bowls and these bowls together. And the whole intention in the CD was we need something to go to sleep to. Everybody had insomnia back in 2007 or 8, and peace, and just I had intentions woven in there. Cornell wanted to meet the sound studio. He didn't know this guy, so he came in for I'm going to spend 5 minutes with him. Stayed in the studio with him the entire 8 hours, air fluting to all of what I was playing because we were concerting together. Helped him edit the whole thing, and that CD has helped more people through insomnia than anything I've ever put out. I love that CD. I still do. I slept to it for years. I just put it on a loop. So it's intentional music, I love that.
Yeah. Just a reminder to anyone that's new here, Jodi and I do these the first Monday of each month. And we both have playlists on our channels. If you go into the playlist, there's a playlist for Sacred Sounds of Coffee. We started this last September, so you will find on both our channels, because we alternate back and forth to each other's channel, you'll find all the videos we've done. We always end with a meditation, prayer, whatever you want to call it, and a sound healing sound bath. So I encourage you to go watch some of those. They're quite beautiful.
Yeah, and when I get off the road, this is funny. I'm considering which gongs I'm bringing with me on the road. So in my gong bath the other day, I've got like, okay, the storm gong I have to bring. That's how I do weather work, and the littlest one because I can carry that one. And I'm sitting next to one of my Italian cave gongs, playing him with the little tiny one, and he goes into this whole the spirit in him is like, excuse me, you are bringing me, you're too big, I can't handle the stand, and there's a whole argument of this is how you do it, you're bringing me, it's either me or Archangel Michael over there, you drop him every time you pick him up, so you're bringing me. Fine. I will Tetris my truck so you fit in. They're so bossy. But when I get settled again, I will be living alone, so I'll be able to do this studio in the gong chamber again and be able to bring the gongs back into the fun. So that's next. Thank you all. Thank you. This is fun. I don't know what our topic will be next.
We haven't discovered that one for May yet. Anytime if somebody ever has a topic you'd like for us to discuss, feel free to put it in the comments. And if it's something we feel like we can do in a good way,
ruminate on for an hour.
We're open to other topics besides what comes to us. I almost feel like it gets channeled. Well, it does. It gets channeled in whatever the topic's going to be.
So definitely give us feedback on what topics you want. We tend to stay away from the serious and stick with the spiritual. Well, I guess that's sort of serious, but not the world events topics. We're doing more energy, and
just try to create that peace within, guys, to put it out in the collective.
Yeah. Thank you all, Jen Lynn.
Thank you so much, Jodi. Always a pleasure. I love these.
I do too. So we'll see you all next month from wherever I am.
Whatever universe you're in.
Whatever. I may still be in this house. I don't know.
Sparkly poop.
No, we're not doing sparkly poop. Glitter, yes. Sparkly poop, no. Oh, goodbye, everybody. Have a great Monday.